Here we are at an American Battlefield Trust that most members, let alone the general public, have no idea that we were able to preserve together. It's also one that is rarely visited. It's off the beaten path. So without further ado, let's bring on Will Green and talk about where we are and what's going on.
Well, thank you, Gary. It's April 2nd. It's the morning of April 2nd, 1865. The Union Sixth Corps has just broken through the Confederate line, and about 1,000 of those Sixth Corps men, without any command or control, decided on their own to just range out here behind the Confederate line to see what they could do. Maybe they could capture some Johnnies. Maybe they could get a flag and earn a Medal of Honor. Maybe they could get all the way to the South Side Railroad and begin breaking it up. And so about 1,000 of these fellows were roaming around back here behind the Confederate line. Now, the word of the Union breakthrough had reached Lee's headquarters at Edge Hill, which is about a mile or so off to our east and north. It had also reached General A.P. Hill, who had been on sick leave as the commander of the Third Corps, but during this crisis of April 1st after Five Forks, he got out of his sick bed at his little headquarters, just a little bit east of Lee's headquarters. And when informed of the disaster that had occurred on the front line of his corps, he mounted with several of his staff and rode down to Lee's headquarters, where they were informed of the breakthrough in a formal way, and where they could actually see some of these Union Sixth Corps guys roaming around behind the Confederate line. That prompted General Hill to resume his ride to try to get to his senior division commander's headquarters, Henry Heath's, to see what they could do to redeem the situation. One by one, his entourage of 3 or 4 guys broke off for various reasons. And so by the time he gets to this vicinity here, Hill is only accompanied by Sergeant G.W. Tucker. And as they have ridden down probably through this ravine, which provided some cover from these wandering Union forces, Hill was warned by General Tucker to be very careful. There were lots of Federals around here, and Hill sort of dismissed it and said that I'll take care of myself, Sergeant Tucker, don't worry about it. And as they came to this general vicinity, and you can see the small monument behind us that was erected in 1913. So whether this is the spot where General Hill was shot is debatable, but certainly somewhere within where you could throw a football, this is the spot where Hill and Tucker encountered 2 soldiers from the 138th Pennsylvania, a man named Daniel Walk and a man named John Walford. And these 2 Pennsylvanians, Mock and Walford, saw these 2 mounted Confederates who demanded their surrender. Well, one turns to the other and says, I don't think so. Let's shoot him. And shots rang out. One of the shots missed the 2 Confederate mounted men, but the other caught General A.P. Hill. A bullet that actually went through his heart, and Hill was dead before he hit the ground. Sergeant Tucker got onto Hill's better horse, rode back to report what had happened here, and at some hours later, and this is kind of a mystery as to exactly how this happened, but Hill's headquarters guard, the 5th Alabama Battalion, came out here disguised as Federal troops. Somehow they had gotten Federal uniforms. Came down here, inquired about whether there had been a Confederate officer shot in this area. Some Yankee said, yeah, there's a guy over there. They picked up his body and brought him back. Only later did Mock and Walford realize that they had shot one of the highest ranking officers in the entire Confederate Army, A.P. Hill. They thought they were going to be in trouble, but instead they were informed that they had actually killed General A.P. Hill. Now, when the 5th Alabama Battalion got Hill's body, Hill was from Culpeper, Virginia, and wanted to be buried in his hometown. That was his expressed wish. But getting to Culpeper on April 2nd, April 3rd, 1865 was not possible. So he was originally buried on a relative's farm in Chesterfield County. Then in 1867, his body was exhumed and brought to the Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, where so many Confederate renowned people were buried. But then after that, in the late 19th century, A man named Louis Ginter was developing a subdivision on the north side of Richmond. And he felt that it would be a wonderful promotional item for his subdivision to have a prominent Confederate general buried in his subdivision. And today that sounds awful, a commercial exploitation of the death of someone. But it shows how times change and how tastes change. Hill's relatives, his descendants said, well, this sounds like a great idea. So did the veterans. So he was moved to what is now known as Ginter Park neighborhood, a statue erected over his grave. And at least for the time being, A.P. Hill is still there, and so is his monument on the north side of Richmond. Gary?
Wow, I don't think I ever heard that whole burial story. Thank you very much, Will. I just want to close by saying that Doug Ullman's behind the camera. Behind him is a residential development, and about a quarter mile past that is the entrance to Pamplin Historical Park. We are north of the park, basically, north of the breakthrough battlefield. You can follow you can imagine these Union soldiers after they broke through kind of roving around here. And if Doug could come over here, I just want to show you some of this. There's residential developments off in the distance if you go far enough that way. If you come over here, it's Interstate 85 off in the distance. You might be able to hear it, I suspect. And look at this beautiful land over here as well. This is 40 acres, disconnected from any other site. There is not a Civil War trail sign here or anything like that at this point, but this is part of the work we need to do. Is preserving sometimes a quarter acre, sometimes 40 acres like this one at a time to help preserve American history. So we appreciate you helping us with this and all the other sites. More than 140 different battlefields and sites across the nation. Thank you very much for supporting in that effort and battlefield education.